This is EB3, Speaking the Truth in Love, and I just come on for a few minutes to give you guys a word of encouragement. If you like this video and you want more content like it, like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share. So I just come on for a few minutes because I wanted to talk about choices, but I want to break it down to wise counsel. So I looked at the definition of wise and the definition of counsel. And so the Oxford Languages Dictionary says wise is having or showing experience, knowledge, and good judgment. Having and showing experience, knowledge, and good judgment. Counsel. Counsel can be like a noun, which is the advice, especially given formally. That's like a lawyer or, someone like that, a pastor or something like that that's giving you counsel. But as a verb, it is give advice to someone. So that could be a relative, a friend, a coworker, just informal, somebody that's giving you advice. So wise counsel is said to be an act of seeking advice from someone who has the knowledge and experience to direct the seeker in making the right decision. Okay, so I wanted to talk about this because oftentimes people make bad choices and they blame other folks. And it can be something minor or it can be something major. It can be something as minor as what I want to eat for dinner, or it could be something major, or who you're gonna marry, or which is supposed to be. It's not always, but it's supposed to be a lifetime decision that you make when you marry somebody, right? So I would consider it as me personally, I would consider that as a major decision that one has to have. What career you're going to go to, what college you're going to go to, if you're going to go to college, all these different things. Should you stay while dating, should you stay in a relationship with a particular person? Should you even get in a relationship with a particular person? All these can be major life-changing experiences. But y'all know me. I like to go back to what the word says, and there's a few scriptures I want to read to you guys. Bear with me. I'm going to try not to make this video too long. I'm going to try to get to the point. But for right now, I want to read a few scriptures. Psalms 1:1 says, "Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful." Proverbs 1:5 says, "A wise man will hear and will increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsels." Proverbs 12:15 says, "The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he that hearkeneth unto counsel is wise." Proverbs 15:22 says, without counsel, purposes are disappointed, but in the multitude of counsel, they are established. Okay? And so I got one more. Proverbs 19 and 20 to 21. Hear counsel and receive instructions, that thou mayest be wise in thy latter end. There are many devices in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord, that shall stand. Okay, so I wanted to talk about this. I had my notes. I jotted down my scriptures. But what I wanted to talk about is, a lot of times, nowadays, you have a lot of people giving you different advice. And I always tell people, look at what somebody else has done and see how their life has turned out. If you want wise counsel, you have to get that counsel from somebody who is wise, who has made, not everything has gone exactly the way they planned it, but for the most part has made decisions that have bettered not only their life, but also the lives of their loved ones, the lives of the friends and the co-workers that you know. I learned this in childhood. So in my house, we had corporal punishment. I got spankings, I got whippings, I got beatings, whatever you want to call them. But my thing was, I was not going to keep getting the same whoopings for the same thing over and over and over, right? So I learned two things. I learned to learn from my mistakes, right? So in other words, if I did something and it caused me to get something that I did not want, whether it was a spanking, whether it's been on punishment, whether it's taking something from me, or I can't go somewhere that I wanted to go, whatever it was, don't do that anymore, right? Find out what I need to do to keep from getting that, right? Not only that, if I look at somebody's trying to give me advice, trying to tell me that what I should or should not do, but it didn't work out for them, then I learned that is not wise counsel. And so, two things that bothers me about what's going on in the world today. There's two big problems. One of the things is, sometimes when you go back to Psalms 1 and 1, if you go further on, you go to the next verse, it says that you should meditate on the word day and night. So one of the problems that we have is, sometimes our own counsel that we give to ourselves, in other words, the voices, your meditating, your thinking, we're not always thinking on the right things. And so sometimes you can't even trust your own judgment. That's why we have to go seek wise counsel. Sometimes your judgment is based on your emotions, based on past hurts, based on unresolved issues, unhealed, based on brokenness within you, right? And so if you are making your choices, your life choices, on whether they're small or big, on your emotional state, then a lot of times you're not going to make wise decisions. But at the same time, when you're listening to other people, make sure that they're not giving you advice out of their brokenness. Because if they're giving you advice out of their brokenness, then your brokenness with their brokenness, is going to end up being a hot mess. Now, once you have established, these are things that I've learned. Once you have established that the person who is trying to tell you something, maybe they've experienced something and they learned from it and they grew from it, right? It's wise to listen to them. That's why Proverbs 12 and 15 says, the way of a fool is The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he that hearkeneth unto wise counsel is wise. Okay, so what I'm saying is, even though that person may have made a mistake, if they learn from that mistake, they can still give you wise counsel because they learned from the mistake. Now, if they are continually, listen to me careful, if they are continually taking the same test over and over and over again, and they have not passed the test, because if you learn from your situation, then the next time it comes around, you won't make the same choice. You will have learned how to deal with it more wisely and make a better choice. Example, if somebody is trying to give you financial advice, but their finances, they got a credit score of 500 and something, they haven't learned their lesson. And so therefore, what they're doing is not going to help you. If somebody is telling you something about how to raise children, and you see that all their children, they got 5 children, and all their children are in disarray, and for lack of a better word, they're all over the place. They won't keep no job. They won't listen to anybody. They won't stay out of jail. Some of them they're getting married. They can't have a stable relationship. I mean, they're just in disarray, just so much. And not in their 20s. Like, in your 20s is the time that you're supposed to be learning a lot of things. You're supposed to be learning about who you are, what you want to be. But here they are, my age, 50, in their 50s, and they still haven't gotten anywhere in life. And it's not about being rich in a sense of having a whole lot of money, a whole lot of things. But they're still not stable. None of their children are not stable. Then me personally, that's not the advice I want to take. I don't want to receive that advice. I want to receive advice from a person who, all their children may not be exactly right? But for the most part, all their children may not have accomplished everything that, or haven't been perfect, how haven't made righteous decisions, right? Because we all fall down and we have to get back up, right? But for the most part, they're loving people. When they make mistakes, they're willing to take accountability. When they realize they have done wrong, they go back, and after taking accountability, they go back and try to make things right. And they move on. They don't sit there and wallow in stuff, right? That's signs of maturity. That's signs of accountability. That's signs of being a full-grown person, right? You know, I can accept advice from somebody like that. What I'm saying is, there's a lot of people out here giving out a lot of advice, and their lives are in shambles. And if you listen to them, your life will be in shambles. However, on the other side, there are people who have lived, they've gone before you, they've made some mistakes, they've admitted to their mistakes, they've found some counsel themselves, and they've learned better. And so now that they've learned better, they can teach you better, right? Accept that counsel. And if you don't have anyone in your life that's like that, then go get some professional counsel. Because we all have gifts and talents. But if we don't find ourselves learning and growing, we will find ourselves going backwards instead of forward. And in this time in our lives, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, or even 80s. This is not the time to be going backwards. We already have folks that want us to go backwards, just as a black people. Let's find ourselves going forward, but let's find ourselves getting wise counsel when we making choices. A lot of times, our parents have gone through some things, have made some mistakes. We, people in my age group, uh, have gone through some things, have made some mistakes. And we can see, because we know where we've been, where we're going, we can see uh, where our children headed in the wrong direction. Listen, young people, listen, accept wise counsel. Don't be like the foolish person and find yourself constantly trying to crawl out the ditch, or just going in this cycle. And you wake up one day and you're 60 years old and you have nothing to show for. You've got to work till you're 80 years old, not because you enjoy working, but because you have to, because you have not planned well. And it's not just financially, but you just have not lived life well because you would not listen to anybody. You were too stubborn to do what a wiser person tried to tell you. When I tell you financially, learn how to put $5 in the bank if you need to. If you're at a point where all you're making is $10 an hour, still put something away for hard times. Don't spend every dollar you make. And that's whether you're making $10 an hour or whether you're making $500 an hour. In other words, that's whether you're making, if you're making $12,000 a month, not $12,000 a month, $12,000 a year or $12 million a year. Anywhere in between, anywhere below or greater. Learn how to live within your means. And the younger you learn how to live in your means, the better off you will be, right? Learn how to get along with people. Because the Bible is right. You will reap what you sow. I see so many people who have raised children and they get to this age and not one of their children will visit them. Not one of their children. I mean, they have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 children. None of those children will visit them. They throw them in a nursing home and they may go see them, they may not go see them. But again, when you were young, you didn't listen to wise counsel. It's a hard thing. It's a hard pill to swallow. But part of learning how to live wisely, one wise thing is when we talk about the golden rule, learning how to treat people the way you want to be treated. Sowing good seed so you will reap good seed. In other words, if you show kindness, you will receive kindness. Maybe not from the person that you wanted, but it may be a grandchild that will come. Like your children might have their own way of thinking. But somewhere down the line, if you have sown good seed, somebody will come and take care of you. Anyway, be wise enough to accept wise counsel, but also wise enough to understand how, as a great man once told me, and told a lot of people, learn how to eat the meat and throw away the bones. So when somebody's trying to give you advice, somebody's trying to give you counsel, learn what is good and what they're saying. Take that good and apply it to your life. And whatever that doesn't apply, don't argue about it. Just say, I ain't doing that. That right there ain't gonna work. Okay? Anyway, be blessed, be a blessing, and I am out.